Hello there, Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Shadow of the Tomb Raider Deadly Obsession video walkthrough. This is going to be covering Cenote. This is the part of the classic, the new trilogy of Tomb Raiders sections where you take on slightly supernatural slash out of this world elements, even though this one is much more grounded than the crazy spectral flame samurai people and those blue dudes from the last game. These are going to be... they look like dudes from Sirith Ungol. They look like weird little scrubber orc people. But I'm assuming that they're just people who have been kind of living underground, and they're all cannibals because the only food source underground at this point must be eating each other and incestuous relationships and things, and that's why they look all kind of crazy and bestial and things. I would like to hope that they're hunting animals, maybe, coming out into the jungles and hunting the animals, and they look all messed up because they're trying to look super intimidating and be the defenders of the area, but I'm not entirely certain. What I can tell you is, they shrug off a shotgun like an absolute champion, and I don't know how any human being can do that, but it's something that's worth knowing. And it's one of those interesting pieces of dissonance that this game delivers to us, because on the one side, the enemies take shotgun blasts really well, but on the other side, if you hit them in the head, they die instantly. You would think a shotgun pellet would hit them in the head, but it's harder than you might expect. So this is an enemy where sometimes it'll take 5 rounds to die, and other times you'll clip them correctly and they'll die really quickly. It's all indicative of your aiming, your skill in some ways, and your ability to manage controls that should have been superior. But the first fight is intimidating because there's a lot of enemies and all you have is a small room to navigate, and you're going to get rushed by them. And it's a tough fight too. It's probably the toughest fight in the game, and I did it on my first attempt. So that should give you faith that if the toughest fight in the game can be done in one attempt... Look at that, by the way. That was a mistake on my part. I always forget that when you press Y to interact with things, Lara will punch if you're not near something to interact with, and I nearly killed myself with a trap. But luckily, I had that particular skill that slows the trap down, and it enabled me to dodge in time and not take the death. So that was really, really handy. But we're going to jump ahead here, guys, and get to the tough bit. So I'll see you on the flip side. So if you're not a fan of jump scares, be careful, guys, because coming up is a rather blatant jump scare that leads to a combat sequence that's pretty demanding. When we fall into this room, we're going to have to take on one of the Cenobites, which is what I've dubbed them. That's not their name, and it's not even close to what they look like, but it's a fun word, and I don't get to use it enough. So I'm trying to skip this cutscene because I'm trying to skip all the cutscenes, but you can't skip anything in this game, so you're going to have to watch Lara get up slowly as this monster tries to eat her face. The moment you're standing, you want to shotgun this guy. You can sometimes kill him in 1 hit, you can sometimes kill him in 2, sometimes it takes 3, sometimes it takes 4, and you wonder how the fuck did I not hit him in the mouth just then, but whatever. That guy will always spawn afterwards from those barricades at the bottom. Then he spawns up there with 2 of them, so make sure you kill them with the green glob. And then another guy spawns. If you shoot them when they're dropping, you'll kill them instantly, usually, or you'll knock them over. Wait for 2 of them to drop down, kill them with the explosive. This door's going to open and it's going to be an archer. He needs to die because he's the most threatening enemy here, and then you'll get rushed by 1 guy on the ground and another archer. So focus on the archer and then dodge away from the scrubber that's about to come and attack you. Now that it's just you and him, another guy spawns on the right, so you have to try and move around and get them kind of together and then shotgun them. But this can kind of be a bit of an art form, purely due to the nature of how quick they are and the fact that these pillars that are supposed to give us cover can sometimes end up hurting us. But just manage them with the shotgun, keep on hitting them, keep your head on a swivel and listen out for any more, like that guy just then. I heard him and I dodged, but I dodged too late and he ended up clipping me. So that was a bit of an awareness fail and a bit of an execution fail on my part, but they didn't kill me. And I could heal right now if I wanted to, but I'd choose not to because I like to kick ass and chew bubblegum. And I actually have some bubblegum, so we're going to commit to it. Commit to the bubblegum chewing and then we'll kick ass a little later. But when you get that cutscene, it's the end of the fight. And now you have to do the rest of the level without dying. And the rest of the level just so happens to be 30 more minutes. So yeah, this is going to get pretty nerve-wracking if you're not confident in your ability. But guess what? You don't have to be. The next section is very controllable. It just gives you the illusion that it's worse than it is. And I'll explain exactly why when we get there.
All full up. Can't carry any more. There we go. Look at all this. What's behind that door? The box could be here. E-shell and shack shell protecting the box.
Okie dokie, so the part of this level that seems more difficult than it is. You're going to move into a large chamber and be tasked to open 2 doorways. To do this, you have to do some water puzzles involving these statuettes of leopard heads and the flowing water that then flows through them. While you're doing this, you're going to get attacked by the Cenobites, and the audio is going to give you the illusion that you are always being attacked. Because in this part of the game, instead of having accurate audio and telling you where enemies are coming from, it's going to throw the audio all around you. And I believe it does this because it wants to give you the impression that you're in some kind of hive. You are in the centre of this nest, and you are surrounded by threats. However, you aren't. There's only ever a bunch of dudes, and when you kill them, you are 100% completely safe. Occasionally there's archers, but other than that, you are never in a moment where they will suddenly spawn or suddenly just turn up. So never ever listen to the sound, guys. On this section, having headphones is going to hurt you because you're going to think people are behind you when they're not, and it happens a lot. And you're going to see me play very tentatively purely because I can't turn off my instincts. When I hear a noise, I react. And you're going to see it coming up here. Because what's going to happen, guys, is when you interact with this tool, there's going to be 2 sets of Cenobites that climb up out of the thing in front of me and to the left up by the side of the door. And if you shoot them when they're climbing, they die instantly. But the problem with it is, I don't know if shooting them has a point. You get experience, but I don't know if that letting him climb up would have added him to the enemy rotation, or if I'm just shooting something that's put there to make it look more cinematic. So you're going to see me shoot these guys a bunch of times when I don't need to. You see that guy that climbed up there? For some reason, on the N64 version of this game, I don't know if it's on all of them, but when he climbs up that rock face, he turns invisible. It's really strange. And your reticle will be red, and there'll be nobody on the screen, but if you shoot, you'll kill him. It's almost like he has a cloak of invisibility. Maybe he killed Frodo, I don't know. But move the heads to the correct place, and then if you want to, you can react to these guys and shoot them, but I'm almost certain you probably don't have to. But when I play any kind of no checkpoint scenario, I'm trying to be as sharp as I can, always trying to stay ahead of the game. But just know that the game is designed right here to make you think that you're in trouble when you're not. And I've done this puzzle wrong, by the way. You're supposed to flip the middle one to the right so you can climb it and free the top one, but I haven't done that, so don't do what I'm doing just now. It's a bit of a waste of time. But once again, I did all this first attempt, guys, and I don't want to trim a ton of the video and streamline it all up, because then it just looks like I'm trying to hide or cheat things. And there's already going to be people being like, "This is not on Deadly Obsession. This is bullshit, I can't do it, I'm bad at the game, so I'm gonna blame your videos," and, you know, the generic YouTube nonsense that happens. Watch out for this fella, I think that's a pre-programmed spawn. But if you ever feel in danger, run down here. In this area, they cannot get behind you, so you will funnel them all towards you. So whenever it kicks off, run immediately to that opening, and then just say hello to the meat grinder, and you'll be fine. But this is the part where I realise I've messed it up. And I'm going to go back now and fix the puzzle. But do you notice how safe I am? I haven't been attacked in ages, except for that one guy that was pre-programmed. You are completely safe here, guys. It's just the game is insinuating constantly that you're not, and it's not true. And like this fella here, I'm repeatedly killing these fellas. They're not even giving me experience anymore, but I'm still shooting them. I'm almost certain he's essentially the equivalent of a cloud. He's just part of the backdrop, making it look fancy. I'm still going to shoot them every time I see them, because as I've mentioned, I take no prisoners in this section. It's a long sequence. But the other side is much quicker and much easier than this side, I think. Because they attack you immediately, and then you can focus on fighting them, and then you can focus on getting it done. Whereas on this side, because I was being so tentative and so hesitant, like there's an enemy that attacks you from right here, but I can't trigger it because I haven't interacted with the machine yet. And it's one of those kind of silly spawns where they do it to scare you, and they spawn him super close. So I'd recommend putting your shotgun on, actually, so that when you come out of this, you can immediately give him some buckshot. And he's there. But I stun him with a shot, and then I hit him in the face, and he's done. And then I move over here because I know it's a dead end, but no one's attacking me. And it's almost like your imagination is your biggest enemy here, because you're feeling like you should be getting attacked. And I should compliment the developers, because it's a pretty cool section for that. It makes you feel like you're way more intimidated than you are. But when it involves using misleading audio, I never like that. I find it really difficult to see the point in misleading audio. Like right now, you see those guys over there with the torches? All this is doing is adding to the dread. And it's working, you know? Do you see him just then? See him go to invisible? See the red crosshair? I'm telling you guys. With the expansion pack on the N64, the graphics on this look ultra realistic. It's amazing. I love it. You can see all the voxels. You really can. Beautiful voxels, right? What's a voxel? No one knows. Can't be told. I think Christopher Columbus knew. Anyhow, shoot the top one, turn the water onto the second one, and then you've done the first of this. And then we can move across to the second bit. Whoop whoop. And we're still... Look, you see? Look at that! It's so crazy. Video games. I love it. Another guy's climbing. You can't get past Chris, boy. Sit the fuck down. Can you imagine playing this on mouse and keyboard? Oh, it would be beautiful. Maybe then the aiming would feel good. But here's the first half of the door. And what that's done is, because it moves the wheel in the middle, it allows you to swim between the wheels and get to the second side. But there's going to be a bunch of our friends now spawning, and it's going to introduce you to the archer. The archer's probably the more dangerous of these creatures, just because his aim is really good. But while he's turning up, his friends are too, so be careful. But I got clawed then. It wasn't a full-on claw, so it didn't do the most damage it could have done. And then I'm going to back up to here, and then funnel everybody. And see how fun this game is when you shoot people and they don't react. Because they've already reacted, and for some reason that's enough. What have we got? Anybody else? But if you are curious as to why the blood doesn't go away during battle, it's because of the difficulty. You cannot heal during battle outside of your own healing capabilities. There he is up there. There's also a guy behind me on the other side as well. So, look at him standing on thin air. What a genius. The guy's a cheater. Filthy cheater, just like I am. This is actually easy difficulty. I've just edited it together to make it look harder. So, a guy up there, and now a guy behind me too. The guy behind me is going to hit me as well. There it was. See that? Boom. If this was a difficult difficulty, guys, I would have died then. But it's not. Here we go. Try and hit him in the face with this magnificent aiming delay. There you go. Boom! Get wrecked. I wonder if Darkside Phil's noticed it. Do you know what would be really ironic? If Phil plays this entire game and doesn't mention the delay in the controls. Because Phil is a champion of talking about delayed controls. In the one opportunity where he gets 100% validity for saying the controls are delayed, if he doesn't say they're delayed, that's how we know that the delayed controls is purely an excuse. So if anybody's watching his Tomb Raider run, guys, please look into that, see if he does, because he has full immunity to say that the controls in this game are delayed, because they are. I've tested them, I've measured them. Like, it's ridiculous. So jump into the water anyhow. Now you've got rid of the enemies, and then we can continue onwards. If you're curious to how I did test them, is I made a cough I coughed the moment I initiated moving my analog, and then once I synced the video up, I counted the frames between me aiming and moving my gun. And that's how sad I am, pretty much. Because I'm fascinated by things. Like, you know, the cool thing about recording your own gameplay and going into an editing software is you can do things like that. Like, in certain games, when I want to know what animation is quicker, I'll measure them frame by frame. You know? And it shows you empirical truths. It shows you hard statistics, and you know them to be true because you tested them. And as long as you test them correctly, and you do a bunch of them, and you get some kind of consensus, then you know that it makes some sense, right? That's why I knew the frame data for God Hand, because I measured the frame data from start up to active hit. And I love that stuff. That's why I love depth and complexity in games. That's why this game frustrates me so much, because they're obviously very capable and talented developers. They've just chosen to make almost every aspect of this game lesser than it could have been. And I don't know why they did that. But here is another fight coming up. So, whenever this kicks off, if you drop down here, you can use this cover to shoot back at the two snipers. And if you ever get rushed by the melee characters, if you move down to where we swam up from the beach area, you can shoot them as they're falling, it'll knock them down, and then you can execute them. Or, if you get super rushed and they're on you and you're down on the bottom of this, if you jump in the water, they can't find you, because they can't follow you into the water kills them. If they do follow you, they die, which they oftentimes don't. If you don't like jumping in the water and you don't find it to be, you know, the best strategy, you can always back up into that dead-end room that's just to the right of when you're facing the water down on that waterfront. Because in that room, it's almost like a spawn closet where enemies don't spawn, so you can sit with your back to a wall and shoot them as they funnel towards you. But this could have been a really, really amazing and tough section, you know, if this difficulty had checkpoints. I would have made it so that these enemies kill you in one touch. I'd have given them, like, filthy fingernails and shit. If they touch you, you just die of AIDS. I would have made it very challenging. Everything should kill you instantly, because Lara Croft is not Arnold Schwarzenegger. She is a fragile, academic adventurer. She's not a fucking gun-toting angel of death. Oh wait, yes she fucking is. She makes Arnold Schwarzenegger look like a goddamn pacifist. Because while Arnie was making wisecracks and killing bad guys, she's stabbing people who have fucking families in the throat and then drinking their blood. She's watching the life fade from their eyes with no grimace, no remarks, just staring death in the eyes and drinking the soul. It's insane, dude. And it's hilarious because the game wants you to feel something for Lara. It wants you to feel like she's becoming a warrior when all we ever see her fucking do is stab everything in the neck. It's crazy. Oh, by the way, guys, you can't actually interact with this until you activate the mechanism and you flood it more with water. I forgot that while I was playing, and as I've spoken about before, usually in a walkthrough I would remove this part of me messing up the puzzle, but because there's no checkpoints, I don't want there to be too many cuts and edits when we're playing and it's an actual part that's gameplay, because then it looks like I'm trying to hide something and I'm not. This walkthrough is a messy walkthrough. There are tons of times where I make mistakes, where things don't go my way, and you're going to see all of it, because that's what happens when you take the fucking checkpoints out, right? And somebody likes this, because it's happening more and more. I don't know where these developers are getting this consensus from, but I'd like to get 1,000 alternative accounts to tell them that they're wrong. Because I hate this. I really do. I hate anybody who believes removing checkpoints is in some way an endearing form of difficulty. Because do you know why, guys? The hardest things I've done in games have always been well checkpointed. But what the puzzle of what was needed of me was the hard point. Like, Death Shudder in God Hand, if you do that section on Kick Me Sign Hard difficulty without cheesing it, is one of the hardest things you could ever wish to do. Do you know why it's hard? Because it's really, really, really hard. It's not because there's no checkpoints, it's not because the game's cheating, it's not because you have to play for 50 minutes and do nothing difficult, but there's no checkpoints. It's because the game is fucking hard. And you have to play for like 7 minutes flawlessly. Like 7 perfect minutes. And even then it doesn't have to be perfect, because I did it, right? There, see him die? I don't know what happened, but he got launched by the water. That was a distorted water uppercut. Knocked him out. And they throw things as well. I don't know where they pull these from, but this particularly... the kind of... He looks a bit maroon, doesn't he? The purple dudes have a tendency to throw the gas grenades, so just be careful. But as he drops down, you can knock him down with your gun, and then you might even be able to hit him with your axe if you want to save ammunition, but one area of this game you'll never have problems with is ammunition. You always have enough. The only time you won't have enough and have to pick it up is against the final boss. But that's less about the game and more about how shit the final boss is, which is absolutely hilarious. I can't wait for you to see that fight. You can do the final boss in stealth though. If you don't want to shoot him 500 times like you have to, if you do it violently, you can stealth him and it's probably quicker, but I didn't try it because what's the point, right? If I can kill him by shooting him in the mouth repeatedly and get it over and done with, I'm not going to sit in a piece of grass for 15 minutes waiting for the opportunity to stab him in the dick. But look at this AI right now. They're going to keep jumping down and we're going to keep hitting them as they do. It's hilarious. Don't know how he teleported, but there's the gas grenade. I get into trouble, I'm in the water, they can't hurt me. See, this is my problem with the game, guys, as well. This is my problem with the difficulty. This game isn't hard, and it isn't hard because your tools are too strong. Lara's too strong, your tools are too strong, the enemies are too weak. The enemies literally have a disadvantage because you're playing as a Terminator. That's why the game isn't difficult. Because the game isn't difficult, instead of taking the time and elegantly adjusting things to make the game more difficult, they've just taken checkpoints out and said, here you go, harder game. And if this doesn't fundamentally prove the fallacy that this is challenging and that it's actually just really lazy, I don't know what will. And this is the first time I've covered a difficulty like this, guys, because I hate them. And it's coming off in the commentary. You might wonder why I'm not commentating this entire walkthrough, because if I did, all it would be me critiquing every aspect of this game and souring its taste in everybody's mouth. And I don't want to do that because I know there's people that really like this game and it's not fair for them. Like, it's just such a strange experience. But notice too that I'm taking this section very slowly. I'm never in danger. I'm never getting so rushed that I can't deal with it. But if you listen to the audio behind my incessant blathering, you'll notice noises everywhere. And if you've got good headset, one of them's from behind you. You can hear feet running around directly behind you. You turn around, no one's there. Then you hear screaming, then you hear more noises. And you see me right now? I'm going to do the puzzle, but it sounds like enemies are coming for me. And this entire section just throws noise at you. It's really obnoxious. But once you've turned this water wheel, even if 50 enemies turn up, you're already done because this is the end of this sequence. And now you have to do this. And this is a problem. You've now been playing for 30 minutes. No checkpoint. If you fuck up a jump here, or go the wrong way, or instantly touch some randomly placed death plane, you have to do everything you've just watched again. So when I say be careful, take your time, but also be quick, like, you really need to not mess these parts up, and I didn't, thankfully, but it could have easily happened. It really could. Because Laura's flippancy when it comes to grabbing ledges is the most dangerous part of the game. It's more dangerous than the final boss, it's more dangerous than Jaguars, it's more dangerous than these Cenobites. Like, and also, not understanding a sequence here is dangerous. If you run full clip and it falls away like that and you're too far in front and you fall, you better pray that they give you a mercy checkpoint at the beginning of this shitty cinematic section, because if they didn't, you have so much to replay. And every time I've wanted them to give me a checkpoint in a shitty cinematic section, they haven't, guys. They gave me one at the beginning and that was it. So just be as careful as you can. And right now, I was so nervous that they were going to throw piranhas at me that you could have probably squeezed a piece of coal into my ass and I would have popped out a diamond. Like, just not fun at all. But what can you do? Take your time though, guys. Be attentive, be alert, be safe. Get to that campfire, get that checkpoint, and you've done potentially one of the hardest sections in the game, and it was relatively simple.
Finally, I made it. All full up. Can't carry anymore. I don't have enough space for that. Yes. All full up. Can't carry anymore. Impossible. I can't carry anymore. I'll have to jump. There's no other way.